3,000 feet and have seen and recorded some extraordinary things down there. We're seeing some of those images now on screen and getting a chance to see what it's like when you're down there.
So cool. So cool.
We're down for 8-hour intervals, and it's a small space, so sometimes we get a little stir crazy. And we bring down the camera to show our families whenever we see something interesting.
You've not only seen some remarkable things down there, but you've heard some amazing things.
Yes, in fact, it's one of our jobs. Before we can use the sonar, we have to check if there's any marine mammals in the area.
And this is because the seismic mapping, the sonar you use for the mapping, could be harmful to marine mammals.
Yes, that's right.
Paul, this is similar to what you've described.
Yes, this affects marine mammals too. This can kill them, actually.
How do you determine if there are marine mammals in the area when you start this process?
Well, we listen. There is a regulated 60-minute listening interval called the marine mammal observation to make sure there is no animals in the area before we begin.
And it was after one of these listening intervals that you experienced something terrifying back in 2010?
Yes.
Where did this take place?
Off the Jan Mayen Ridge in the Norwegian Sea.
Here, let's take a look at this. Wow, that is incredible and unsettling, I'm sure. Paul, I mean...
That's a bloop. That's a bloop signature.
Torsten, you were told at the time that these were the sounds of pilot whales, right?
Yes.
And Paul, do you agree with that?
Those aren't pilot whales, no.
We were told that we impacted pilot whales, and that's why the sounds of the whales were different, because they had been affected by the sonar.
The IGS told you that.
Yes.
That's the Icelandic Geological Survey?
Yeah.
Yes, we were skeptical, of course, but we didn't argue.
We know that you have other footage that you want to show us, and we'll get to that. But first, tell us what happens. A couple years go by, then you have renewed doubts about that sound that you heard back in 2010.
Yes, one of my team members saw a BBC report on a documentary about this strange sound that had been recorded in the deep ocean, a documentary about the creature that made this sound. So we got a copy of the film and saw it.
You're referring to Paul's film, correct? Mermaids, the Body Found.
Yes, and now we know what the sounds are that we heard.
So you and your team took what were pretty bold measures. You go to the Icelandic government, you ask for a full-fledged environmental impact study at the site where this took place.
Yes.
And Paul, can you tell the audience exactly what that means?
Well, yeah, basically all oil exploration in the area would be suspended while officials reviewed the scope of its impact on marine life.
And Torsten, what happened with your request?
We were denied by senior officials, and we were reminded of our confidentiality agreements, and we were told that we could not share our recording with anyone else.
From where you stood, did you see this as a thinly veiled threat?
Yes, that was our feeling, yes.
Paul, does this sound all too familiar to you? Deja vu?
We had our material confiscated. They were silenced. This is exactly the same thing. It's very familiar.
And why do you think, Torsten, you got the response that you did?
I can only speculate, of course, but there are billions of dollars at stake when environmental regulations jeopardize the ability to develop these oil reserves.
You did not go to the press at the time, and I'm curious why.
Well, we didn't think we had enough proof to make any changes. What we had was what Dr. Robinson and his team had, some recording of strange animal sounds.
So you began your own efforts to gain further evidence?
Yes, we began off the coast of Greenland, north of the area where we shot the first 2010 recording.
And as you're doing this now, your objective is to deliberately draw them in.
Yes.
How do you do this?
Well, we use the bloop recordings. So we played the bloop recordings out into the ocean, much as what Dr. Robinson did.
And you did this on every dive for 7 months, is that right?
Yes, and we took down 2 cameras on every dive, just in case we might see them.
And what happened on March 6th, 2013, of this year? What happened?
They reappeared.
Let us take a look. I want to give folks a quick glimpse of that amazing footage, and this is from the first camera. When we come back, footage from the second camera. That's coming up right after the break.